Now I tell you what, this is a big day for me, okay, and it's a big day for my family. In the front row here, AD Moccia, okay, this is my wife. Now Heidi is Heidi is the athlete in the family. She's a former first-team All-American soccer player at the University of Massachusetts, okay, and then she played overseas as well. So I never jog with her. If you ever see me jogging around town, it's by myself, all right? And then we've got two daughters. We've got Addie Marie, so Addie, stand up. She just turned 7 years old and got her ears pierced. Big day, okay? And then Gemma Gale, who is 21 months. I always want to say years old. But she'll try not to wreck the press conference here, so Mom's going to do her best. But that's Gemma Gale, so I appreciate them. Certainly my parents, too, I have to thank. You know, they instilled in me what I believe is a tremendous work ethic. They're retired in Arizona, and I believe, and I think Heidi fears, that Las Cruces may be getting 2 new residents, but we'll see if we get the parents out here. You know, I also want to thank my mentor, Mike Alden. I worked for a guy named Mike Alden for 13 years. He's the current director of athletics at the University of Missouri. And I learned an awful lot from that guy. And I really want to say thank you to him. Now, I first hooked up with Mike when I was an intern at the University of New Mexico, and we refer to those as the dark period, okay, in my life, the dark chapter. But I joke, I'm anxious to work with Paul Krebs. I know a lot of those guys, so we're ready to lace it up against them, but they're a bunch of good guys, but we want to beat those guys pretty bad. Now, I tell you what, today wouldn't be possible without a very loyal and hardworking staff that I'm leaving behind. And I won't get emotional talking about those guys. But after 9 years, you know, I had a lot of good people, and I know they're watching, and I want to say thank you to all of them. I wouldn't be able to be standing here if it wasn't for their hard work, and especially my former boss, the chancellor. She's now the president of Northern Arizona University. We've just lost 2, okay? Dr. Rita Chang, she's the president of Northern Arizona. She's a great influence on me as well, and I thank her. But that is what makes today a little bit bittersweet, leaving behind some special people. And finally, I know the president did, but McKinley Boston, I want to thank him. Maybe you guys can give him another round of applause for a decade of leadership of Aggie athletics. I'm really excited today, not just from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. You know, New Mexico State University is a tremendous institution. It's an institution that has a special place in my heart, and I think it's an institution that has a tremendous amount of potential from an athletic standpoint. You know, I always tell people if I was given a time machine, you know, I would set it to when I was back here in school. I mean, I made lifelong friends, coaches, and it's just a very special place to me. I know some of my old teammates are here. Gil Padilla was a co-captain with me. Gil, raise your hand over there, would you please? All right. Jim Krupovage is back here, our center fielder. Benny Avalos is back there. I don't know who else am I missing. I do hate to tell those guys. Am I missing anybody else who's here, our team? These guys are all going to leave as Aggie Athletic Club members before the doors shut. Okay, so we're going to put it on those guys. But we also have a tremendous amount of coaches that came through here, and I owe a lot to a guy named Mike Ryan, who took over a struggling baseball program, and through hard work and through running the heck out of us, made us believe that we could win, and we won right away. Okay. Also, Elliot Avent, tremendous coach here, and you know, 2 of the assistants, Scott Crampton and Keith Lytle, meant a lot to all of us, and they did a heck of a job molding me as a student athlete and as a person. Now, I just met with the entire athletic staff. We spent a really good session together, talked, kind of laid out some things, and I'm very anxious to join the community. I know there's a lot of work to be done on a lot of different things, but I will tell you, you know, we'll operate our athletic program on 3 core principles, and that would be academic integrity, social responsibility, and competitive intensity. We want to win in everything we do, okay? But those will be the 3 biggies. And I'm going to ask, and we will ask personally, all the Aggie alums, the fans, the donors, and the letter winners to help us emotionally, financially, and by attending the ball games. Okay, we'll do that personally. That'll be a big thing on my agenda. Now, you know, I was talking to Coach Martin. We had a tough loss in football on Saturday. Okay, but we will be focusing on football, and we will make sure that they have the resources to compete at the highest level. Okay, it's going to take everybody's help. We're going to ask a lot of people in the community. We're going to ask a lot of alums all over the place, but that has got to be and will be a focus of our administration. I also talked to Coach Menzies. Basketball has always been the crown jewel of this institution. It's got a great spotlight on it, and I look forward to working with him to make sure we keep our winning ways in basketball and take it up to some of those high levels that Coach had set back in the day. So I had a great time with him as well. Now, I want to tell everybody in this room a true story, okay? 25 years ago, to the month, there was 2 former Aggie baseball players who were hired to repaint the parking lot south of the Pan Am Center. We just parked in it right now. True story. Now, it didn't look like it does now. Had all those little gravel pieces all around there, okay? And we got 2 brooms, and we got a little thing, we got a little tray we put our paint in, and we got 2 of those thin rollers because you had to have the little thin lines for the parking. And that was our job. And you had to hand sweep this parking lot. I'm talking, you really had to put your shoulder into it. And then you had to hand roll it, and if you got a little rocks in your thing, you had to pick them out, and they couldn't get, it was a pain, okay? One of the former baseball players may have quit halfway through, but Gil, I'm not going to say who that was, okay? But thank goodness Coach Avent sent over a bunch of freshmen, and we got the job done. But I tell this story for 3 things. Number one, who would have thought that one of those guys painting that parking lot 25 years ago to the month would be named the director of athletics of such a tremendous institution, okay? Number 2, there is no job too big or too small for us in the athletic program, but we're gonna need help, okay? And I'm gonna ask for it, okay, starting today, okay? And it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. That's our entire coaching staff, that's our entire athletic administration, and that's our donors and our friends and our alums. We're never gonna do it unless we all do it together, okay? But Gil, that is a true story. You can tell everybody that later. I'm very excited and I'm very humbled to be your director of athletics. We will work very, very hard to make you proud of New Mexico State University and its intercollegiate athletic program. Come to the men's basketball game tonight. Those of you who are listening, come to the men's basketball game tonight. You know, we're gonna focus on increasing attendance. We've got great seats available. Thank you very much, and go Aggies.
For our media that's in attendance, do we have any questions?
How will you address the issue of attendance at basketball games and football games in general?
Do you mind telling me your name and your affiliation?
Hugo Perez at Department of Journalism and News 22.
Okay, great. You know, how are we going to focus on increasing attendance? You know, we're going to do a lot of surveying. Something we just did at my previous institution, we actually sat down and created focus groups with our donors and our season ticket holders, with our faculty, staff, and with our students. We had separate meetings. We had pizza, we had some beverages, and we asked them, hey, why, you know, what are you hearing out there? What makes you come to a game? How are the game times? How is the entertainment? We realize that the product has to be successful to get people excited. But we also want to create a value-added atmosphere pregame, tailgating, things going on during the game, things going on after the game. So I think the biggest thing is how to attack that issue is, number one, ask our current folks and ask part of the community, hey, what do we need to be doing more? Hey, I'm an alum, but I haven't been back in a while, so I need to take the temperature of folks. But I'm telling you, I'm not gonna, and you know, people maybe ridicule me, we're not gonna accept that we can't win in football here. Absolutely not. We can win, and we're gonna put things in place to try to make sure that happens. But we're gonna ask folks to help us, and we're gonna ask them their opinion, and then we're gonna implement as many of the good ideas we can on our budget.
Ernesto.
Thank you. Ernesto Garcia, Adams Radio Group of Las Cruces. If able to get successful in all sports and attendance part, would this mean a chance for New Mexico State to move on in conference affiliation and maybe look above the WAC and
Sure. Well, first of all, I know Jeff Hurd, the commissioner of the WAC. I know Carl Benson, the commissioner of the Sun Belt. We're very happy to be in the conference, okay? We can't be putting ourselves in a position to be independent. But, that's a good question. And as you know, the landscape is very unsettled. We just had a big earthquake a few years ago. Now there's these little rumblings. So I don't think anybody has a crystal ball, but I think if we can focus on what we can control, if we can increase attendance, if we can win football and men's basketball games, if we can put ourselves in the best position possible, if there are moves on conferences and it makes sense, we just become that much more attractive. So, we're very pleased with where we are, and we're very thankful. But of course, just like anything else, if there's opportunities, we would always listen to those.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lauren Villagrán with the Albuquerque Journal. You have a history of fundraising in your previous position. Can you talk to us a little bit about about what you'll bring from what you learned at Southern Illinois here in terms of fundraising across the program?
Sure. I started out in fundraising when I was working with the Lobo Club. All right, and we had to do that at Southwest Texas, now Texas State, and we raised well over $100 million at the University of Missouri, and I just left Southern Illinois where we did $83 million in athletic building. How will we attack that? I never thought fundraising was, higher mathematics. Thank goodness, if you saw my transcript here. The press assures me that he hasn't dug too deep in my transcript. But I think the reality is I want to go to our existing supporters, and in that, I want to ask them, who else do I need to be talking to? I'm not going to know a whole lot of people off the bat, but one of the true stories is how we raised $12 million privately at Southern Illinois. When I first got there was 30 names on the list. And I said, I don't think this is going to get it done. And I went to 3 key people and I said, who else needs to be on this list? And you know what? That list grew to 150 and then it grew to 300. So by doing that, asking people who needs to be involved, I think the president's been very clear. He wants the AD, can't maybe primarily or necessarily be the only chief fundraiser, but that is a big part of an AD's job these days. You've got to get out, you've got to spend time with the donors, you've got to cultivate relationships, and you've got to be able to make the ask. And I know that's what's expected, and that's what I've done in my background. So, I'm anxious to start meeting people, not necessarily reaching for their wallet at the outset. Okay.
Jason?
Jason Gross with the Sun News here in Las Cruces.
Jason, I'm now going to Facebook friend you, okay? Jason's been wanting me to be Facebook friends, and now, immediately after this press conference, I will accept you as a Facebook friend. But I hope you understand that I wanted to keep my mouth shut so I didn't get fired before I got hired.
Well, you just mentioned, some of the responsibilities of an AD here. Does that mean, will you hire a deputy AD, and can you talk about what that person what their responsibilities?
Sure. I think it would be incredibly short-sighted to come in and start making changes for change's sake. I think a good administrator, whether it's in the athletic program or part of the community or, in business, will come and do some evaluation, get the lay of the land, ask questions, things like that. Then I think we can see, how can we set up the organizational chart, what might be best for us, what does our budget look like? That's impactful too. So I haven't been prepared to come in here and say, hey, by the way, here's the plan I've been working on for New Mexico State. I want to get to know New Mexico State athletics before I start making any wholesale changes, and I think we're prepared to do that.
I have one for President Crothers.
Okay.
Can you just talk about was his ties to New Mexico State, was that, how important was that when you're trying to reach out to, alums and stuff like that in the state?
Well, it's always important to hire Aggies, and I do that with reckless abandon. We just hired a baseball coach that's an Aggie, but that's not the primary condition. This gentleman was one of 40 applicants. They were screened by a great search committee, got into the final 8 or 9, then down to 4. And in all those interviews and in all of the conversations we had with references, he seemed to stand out a little bit in terms of his ability to go out into the community to raise funds and to advance the brand of athletics. So as you know, when we put the announcement out, we were looking for an athletic director who was external, who would get out and do these kinds of things. I may have to teach him a little bit, or what little I know about working with the legislature, but he'll have to have that role because we get over $3.5 million a year from the legislature. So I can help him with those things, but I don't think I need to help him go out and meet people, meet the donors, and expand the donor base. And that's what was very attractive to him. I think being an Aggie kind of connects you with Aggies. And so he'll have a better time with our alumni base than perhaps somebody else would have. But that's not going to get the job done. He's going to have to expand his market area dramatically.
Any other questions? Yes.
So just, in Division I football, you say you want to create a winning atmosphere, see where things are going to be. What is one of the things that you'd like to lay down first if you can get something going for Doug Martin's football program?
Well, once again, I have to get in. I have to look at the budget. I have to talk to Coach. You know, I caught the second half, or maybe half of the second half, on Interstate 57, driving from Bloomington Normal, Illinois, to Carbondale, Illinois. Aggie Vision was clear as a bell, and it was great. But I heard the announcers talking about, hey, had a great recruiting class, need to build up. Football is not a quick fix, and we've had a lot of, some tenures that haven't been very long. I think you've got to, that's probably the thing primarily. You've got to build up the football recruiting classes. But I'll anxiously look forward to delving into the budget and sitting down with the coaches and seeing what they think that we need. That's a big deal. They're living it on a day-to-day basis, so they should have a good handle.
Jack, did you have something?
No, I'd like to talk to Mario.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
very
ladies
much.
and
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Good to meet you. I want you to meet Lou. Yeah. This is Luce's mom.
Let me go around.